And how was that gadget sourced from the country in Europe where it comes from, in the UK? And I want to also recommend an investigation against the purchase of the similar gadget that was bought by DPCI back in 2010, where Jarasbia was working at DPCI at the time. Whether such was bought legally, who were the supplier, and who's the manufacturer of the things. And I'll want the Parliament to check every financial records of Mr. Paul O'Sullivan and all the individuals I've mentioned. And so that we're able to trace and draw a conclusion whether is Paul O'Sullivan a clean man or is an agent. So I think based on that investigation, we're able to conclude whether is he indeed a clean man or he is what is being said in public, an agent. If he's a clean man, why he does what he does. If he's an agent, who is he working for? But it is time that this country must not sit back and be run by Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. And if government fails to act on it, the men and women in this country, they're going to take it upon themselves to do something drastic on it. And it might not be what this government wants to do, because he has gone too deep in showing that he's got control all over. And maybe lastly, I might ask the members to say, if you ever heard of any report that is deemed to be classified, that's supposed to expose the wrong that has happened, and such reports be interrogated. And one of them, IP has a responsibility to investigate criminal things. When you hear the Minister of Police says, I've got a report from IP that is classified, you need to ask yourself a question. You are not an intelligence structure. What do you do with a classified report that you don't want to release? As IP, what is that report doing in the Minister first place? Because IP deals with the criminal case docket. Whatever you investigate must get into the case docket, and that docket must go to court. Why will it go to the Minister and the Minister goes out public and say, I've classified this report, I won't make it public? So these are things that need to be checked, because it is when the system of government fails. And you have worked hard to create a legislation to try and protect yourselves, the citizen of the Republic. But if it's manipulated in that fashion, that the Minister can just decide, I'm classifying this, I'm not releasing it in public. Perhaps you need to ask, do your minister that classifies a document, do you have a security clearance yourself? So how do you classify something if you yourself are not vetted? You don't have a security clearance. So what gives you basis to classify something? So those are the typical examples that I'm talking about that might need to be checked. The problem in the law enforcement is so serious in this country that's why I'm saying, if these things are going to be centralized in a national commission, then it might not be fixed. There's too many problems that exist. And if we start looking at how can we decentralize some of the things, we lessen the risk against this country. And it's a serious risk, honorable members. So that's why I'm going to end on that response.
Well, General, I don't understand why would a bully like Paul O'Sullivan, who is a person of interest because he is suspected to have brought some certain gadgets in the country, is now involved in the destabilization of the security cluster, is so deeply involved. Why is the National Commissioner, or including yourself, not opening a case on crimes against the state? Because when you are engaged in the destabilization of the security cluster, you are a national security threat, and therefore a case should be registered against you, and he must be investigated and be arrested, because he has been going on for a very long time. He has become untouchable, he has become a bully, and it looks like everybody is so helpless around him. What makes it like that? Why are we not opening a case at that level as police, if we have this kind of information to verify the authenticity of the things we hear, so we legitimately investigate, especially on crimes against the state?
Yeah, well, I think majority of the things that are happening that Paul O'Sullivan is doing at the head office, and the authorized people that are closer that are affected, that should be assisting us in such investigation, that should be acting on it. Myself, I have not necessarily persuaded anything because I never really had much details of what. I will hear him talk about things. What triggered me, first time that drew my attention to him, when he published through the media, he published the photos of General Mkhwanazi, who was the acting National Commission. When he published the photos of General Mkhwanazi's house when it was still under construction. And then I started asking myself a question of this house was finished about a year ago. How did he get hold of these photos? That was very interesting to me. That it's not like we're investigating now and you go to the place, there's construction, you take photos. But he shows a building, a structure that was under construction a year or two ago. But and he started with a complaint later and he says this man was building a house of this amount and this house was paying for the house and so forth. If the Paulo Sullivan is going to come and say the National Commissioner, and I said to the National Commissioner, you need to open a case against this. If Paulo Sullivan is going to say the National Commissioner owns a property here and here and here and here and here, how does he afford all these properties? How did he get the information? So we always say that you get, I'm sure majority of citizens in South Africa experience it. You get a phone call from a company and they market, they want to sell you something. And you ask them, where do you get my number from? They say, no, we got it from marketing, whatever things. The reality is, our communication, our contact details, our personal information gets to be shared with third parties without the authorities. That's a reality. And nothing much happens on it. We see it with the marketing happening on our phones, and then we see with people that act to be activists like Paulo Sullivan that are going to start publishing things that you wonder how did he get hold of these things. And if those things exist, why didn't you open a case and get them registered? But he doesn't talk about this. And what disturbed me the most, which I said to the National Commission, I don't understand how you keep quiet about this. When the National Commission was appointed, Paulo Sullivan came out public and he said he was given the names of people to profile. He himself said that the presidency gave him names of particular number of people to profile whether they are suitable or not. And he made the recommendation who is suitable or who is not suitable. And some of us didn't know that. When a national commission is appointed, it means his profile went via Paulo Sullivan to profile. So if that is true, it therefore means the president had invited him to come and give advice at the presidency. And that becomes a serious risk for us. So, but I said to the National Commission, it affects you. If it was me, I was going to open a case. But I don't think this thing should be allowed because this man is saying he's now making a decision as to who becomes the National Commissioner, please.